The rain was falling so hard that the streets looked like rivers, and beneath the flickering light of an old street lamp, a woman stood holding a broken suitcase like it was the last piece of her life she still owned. Her clothes were soaked, her hands were shaking, and her eyes carried the kind of pain that words could never fully explain. She had nowhere to go, no one waiting for her, and no hope left to hold on to. Then, with a voice barely louder than the sound of the rain, she whispered, "I have nowhere left to go." I looked at her tired face, and without knowing how much that one moment would change both of our lives, I answered, "Then stay with me." My name is Kaelen, and before that night, I believed I understood what loneliness looked like. I thought loneliness was coming home to an empty apartment after a long day, eating dinner in silence, and hearing only the sound of your own thoughts. But that night taught me something different. Real loneliness is standing in front of the world with nothing left to lose and wondering if anyone would even notice if you disappeared. Before I met her, my life was simple but quiet. I worked long hours repairing old furniture in a small workshop, bringing broken things back to life because, in some strange way, it made me feel useful. Chairs with cracked legs, tables with missing pieces, old cabinets covered in scratches, I fixed them all. People often threw away things they thought were useless, but I always believed that almost everything deserved another chance. Maybe that was why I could not walk away from her. Her name was Soraya. I learned that later. That night, I only knew she was someone standing in the rain with a suitcase and a heart that looked heavier than anything she carried. When I offered her my coat, she hesitated as if kindness itself was something she no longer trusted. She looked at me with uncertainty, almost expecting a hidden reason behind my offer. I simply told her that no one deserved to spend the night alone in that weather. She followed me to my small apartment a few streets away. The place was nothing special. The walls were old, the furniture was mismatched, and the kitchen light sometimes flickered, but it was warm. For the first time that night, I saw her shoulders relax a little. I made her a cup of tea, and she held it with both hands, letting the warmth reach her fingers. She did not tell me her story immediately. Some wounds are too deep to open in front of strangers. But over the next few days, I slowly began to understand. Soraya had spent years trying to build a life with someone who constantly made her feel invisible. She had given everything she had, believing patience and love could fix what was broken. She had supported someone who never supported her back. When everything finally collapsed, she walked away with only a small suitcase and the painful realization that she had spent years losing herself while trying to keep someone else happy. She had nowhere to return to because she had left behind old friendships, old dreams, and even parts of herself she no longer recognized. I saw the sadness in her eyes whenever she thought I was not looking. She would wake up early and quietly clean the apartment, trying to prove she was not a burden. She apologized for every small thing, even for using a cup or taking a little food from the kitchen. One morning, I found her sitting alone near the window, staring outside at people walking through the street. She looked like someone watching a world she no longer belonged to. I told her that a person's worth was never measured by what they could give others. She deserved kindness simply because she was human. She did not answer, but I noticed tears falling silently down her face. If stories of kindness and second chances still mean something to you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Echoes of Hope. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts that may need them. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, something changed. Soraya began finding pieces of herself again. She started helping me in the workshop, not because she had to, but because she enjoyed creating things. She had a talent for seeing beauty where others saw damage. An old wooden box with faded paint became something beautiful after she decorated it. A broken chair became a piece of art after she repaired it. I realized she was doing the same thing with herself. She was rebuilding. But healing is never a straight road. There were nights when her past returned like a storm. She would sit awake, afraid that everything good would disappear. She worried that one day I would decide she was too much trouble and ask her to leave. She had lived so long expecting people to leave that she struggled to believe someone could choose to stay. And I understood that trust is not built through one promise. It is built through hundreds of small moments when someone proves they mean what they say. So I stayed. Not because I felt sorry for her. Not because I thought she needed saving. I stayed because I saw a person who had survived things that could have destroyed her, and I admired the strength it took for her to keep going. Months later, Soraya found a small job at a local art store. The first day she came home with a smile, I barely recognized her. It was not the forced smile she used when she wanted to convince people she was okay. It was real. It was the kind of smile that comes from someone who finally believes they have a place in the world. She told me about her day, about the customers who loved her designs, and about a little girl who bought a handmade decoration because she said it reminded her of happiness. I watched Soraya laugh and realized something important. Sometimes the people who think they have nothing left to offer are the ones who bring the most light into other people's lives. But just when everything seemed peaceful, life tested us again. One evening, Soraya received a message from her past. The person who had hurt her wanted to return, promising that things would be different. I saw the fear in her eyes. Part of her wanted to believe it because she had spent so long hoping for change. She spent days thinking about it. I did not tell her what choice to make. She had spent too much of her life having others control her decisions. Instead, I reminded her of who she had become. She finally understood that going back to a place that broke her would not bring back the person she used to be. She had grown beyond that pain. For the first time, she chose herself. Years passed, and the small apartment that once felt empty became a home filled with memories. The workshop became more successful, and Soraya opened her own corner where she restored old items and gave them new life. People came from different places because they loved her work, but they stayed because they loved the kindness behind it. One evening, while we sat outside watching the sunset, Soraya looked at me and said that she still remembered that rainy night. She said she had been standing there believing her life was over, but a stranger opened a door and showed her that endings could become beginnings. I told her something I had realized long ago. I did not give her a new life. She built that herself. I only reminded her that she was worthy of having one. The truth is, we never know what someone is carrying when we pass them on the street. Some people hide their pain behind smiles. Some people are one kind word away from believing in hope again. Sometimes, the smallest act of compassion becomes the moment someone remembers they matter. Soraya came into my life believing she had nowhere left to go. But what she found was not just a place to stay. She found a place where she was seen, respected, and loved. And maybe that is what everyone is searching for, not a perfect life, not a life without struggles, but a place where they do not have to pretend they are okay all the time. If this story touched your heart, please support this video by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your engagement helps spread messages of hope, kindness, and second chances to people who may need them today. Before the story ends, I have one special request. Comment, "Everyone deserves a second chance," below if you believe a small act of kindness can change someone's life. Because sometimes, the person standing in the rain is not looking for someone to fix their world. Sometimes, they are only waiting for someone to open a door and say, "You can stay." I can also adapt this into a more dramatic voiceover style with pauses and emotional narration cues if you want.